So the guard says to me, look, I've looked into this and he's missed his flight. He's got to be rescheduled, but there's still time to get your flights. They take me out again. And I'm like, woo! So I get to,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So I get to the airport. I'm sat in the van. The guard says, oh no, I say I wanna use the toilet. I need to pee. You know, I've been hours of this. I've not had the chance to
yeah.
pee.
Right.
He's like, you're not gonna try anything funny, are you? I'm like, no, I just want to go home. So he takes me into a toilet and he chains me to a railing thing next to the toilet. He chains me to it while he goes to pee, and I pee, and then he brings me out, and he's still like going, "You're not going to try anything funny. You're not going to try anything funny." I'm like, "No, I just want to go home." So I brought a guy on a few weeks ago, and he just looked really funny and shifty, and the captain wouldn't let him on the plane, and he had to be rescheduled. You're not going to try anything funny. No, no, I'm a business graduate. I'm a stock market guy. I'm not trying. So he takes me on the plane. He goes, I'm going to put you on first so you don't scare the passengers. And there's a cabin crew from London. And they talked to me like I was a human being. And it was the first time in almost 6 years anyone has talked to me like I was a human being. And I couldn't believe it. I was like I
Wow.
was just melting that a civilian had talked to me like I was a human being. And they showed me where to sit. And I got over there. And then all the passengers get on. And after being around hairy, sweaty men for 6 years, I could smell the women's perfume and all this stuff. But I was a bit institutionalized. So one of the mistakes I made was I put my hand up and I asked a female member of the cabin crew if I could go to the toilet. Like, the toilet's right there. You don't need to ask. And I'm going red. I was paranoid that I stunk because I'd been in transportation for days. So I wanted to have
Yeah.
a bird bath. In prison, if you can't go out yourself because of all the lockdowns, you have a bird bath, which means you basically just scrub your armpits and scrub your ass and your cock. And
Yeah.
so, so I go in there, have my bird bath, come back out, and they got some stupid movies on, and the flights go in, and we land at Gatwick. There's actually some footage of my YouTube channel of me
In the car?
in the car and meeting my parents at the airport. My mom's
Oh my
crying, my
God.
sister's crying, we're having a hug. I'm all stubbled out. My face is just completely pale and shell shocked. You can see I've been through some intense stuff. And my mom's crying, and it's just so nice to give my mom a hug. Right away, they took me to the Indian restaurant. I ordered chicken tikka masala, my former favorite, but I got the gag reflex because of the dead rats in the mystery meat slot that I think I told you about in part one.
Yeah.
I got the gag reflex. I couldn't eat it. And to this day, I've stayed vegetarian because of that.
Can't eat
I
meat.
I did some BBC interviews, and a councillor of a big reputation in London, he had an office out of Harley Street, which is very prestigious, contacted the BBC and said, look, he heard me tell the BBC the cockroach story and other stories I've told you. He said, look, I want to contact this guy and offer him a job speaking in the schools.
Mm.
And I was blessed that such good people came into my life to help me get my public speaking career going and get my books going. 13 books now, just published Pablo Escobar's Story Part 3 this week. That's my 13th book. So he offers me this job speaking in the schools. I said, look, I'm a bit institutionalized. I got to get my head straight. I really appreciate this, but it'll give me a bit of time to settle down before I speak in a school. I think it was about a year and a half later before I took him up on that job situation. My mom said I was like a puppy dog following around the house waiting for orders.
Mm.
And in the end, I moved down south into the house of one of my former ecstasy suppliers, Mike Hot Wheels. He's one of the main characters in Party Time. He was supplying ecstasy out of LA to me before I started going through Holland. He was a rave DJ as well out of Manchester, which is near where I grew up. He's 10 years older than me, so he's a bit of a
Mm.
mentor for me. as I was coming up in the drug scene. And Mike got arrested in prison, in the feds in America. He ended up. And his case was running a few years before mine. So he got released before me, got this house in Guildford. And he's like just moving with me. And because that's near London, that's how I was able to make the necessary connections to get my career back on track.
Now, what did you do to get your career back on track? So what did you do to make money? I mean, obviously there's a big mental shift for you. You were, like you said, you were full of testosterone. You were all about making millions of dollars. You were doing whatever you were doing, coke, ecstasy, all that stuff. And like fast-paced lifestyle, just like the Wolf of Wall Street. And there was obviously a huge transformation that happened to you inside prison. So now, what is your outlook when it comes to making money or rebuilding your wealth?
So I went from that greed is good motto to just taking it as it came and trying to rebuild my life from scratch. And I do enjoy, my therapist said I enjoy building things up, but then I knocked them back down again when I get to the top. So I knew I was not going to knock it down again. I was just going to make slow and steady progress in life. Now, it was in the maximum security jail my writing got smuggled out back in 2003, 2004. That caused the blog, John's Jail Journal, that attracted international media attention to Sheriff Joe Arpaio's hellhole. And a literary agent did approach me about a book. And when I got out, that literary agent died. So then I'm like contacting literary agents and publishers saying I've got the best story in the world and the best writer in the world. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was just burning bridges completely. So I won a short story contest that my mum had entered me into through a charity called Prisoners Abroad. And I'd forgotten I'd even entered it. It was about a shit slinger in Supermax.
Oh, yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah. Well, this was a whole different shit slinger story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was made into a short story. It was about a white guy who was in the Supermax and this big shit slinger. It was about a battle between them two that they had going on for a long time and what happened. So I win a short story contest. I'm asked to read it at the Royal Festival Hall. And the people who I've won this award through are called the Kersler Trust. So Prisoners Abroad entered it. Kersler Trust gave me the award. And these wonderful people, some of the money from my books goes to them now to this day because they just do such great work helping prisoners rehabilitate through art. That's what Kersler Trust do. They're based out of London. They put me on their mentor scheme. So a published author came and met me every month in the London Museum and stuff. And within a year of this lady working her magic, I had a literary agent, and that guy, he helped me fine tune as well. And then he got me a deal with Random House, who originally published my life story as a trilogy before I got the rights back. Now I'm thinking, right, the author, the term author has associated with it the biggest misconception by the public of income. Authors are actually some of the lowest paid people in the world if you look at the average income for an author. People think of J.K. Rowling, Stephen King. They think everybody who's an author is making that much money, but they're not. Most authors are broke. And I had to learn that the hard way. Then I'm thinking, I'm an author now? Gonna make all this money?
Yeah.
So I'm selling £100,000 worth of books a year for Random House. We're doing that a lot. I'm doing book signings, and by book signing I mean me and my mum are in the store all day long from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, handing out leaflets and putting people in headlocks, making them buy the bloody book. They're not all lined up at a table because I'm so famous and I can just sit there and sign books and leave after an hour. Me and my mum, we went up and down the country doing that.
Wow.
I'm selling £100,000 worth of books a year. That's like $120,000. I got a check every 6 months from Random House. How much do you think that check was?
$10,000.
$2,000.
$2,000. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So it took me a long time, man, to rebuild and to make an income decent enough to start investing in my own podcast and stuff like that.
That's kind of how a lot of people have to start, though. When you start fresh in something like that, you kind of have to, you got to start without no, you have no you don't know how anything works. You have no connections, you have no leverage. You're fresh out of prison, and that's how you learn.
It took me 10 years to become a millionaire in the stock market. It took me 10 years for my initial drug purchases for me to be doing the millions in the ecstasy trafficking business.
Mm-hmm.
It's took equally that long to become a bestseller on Amazon.